Hey, what's going on, guys? Morgan and Elliot here with our Movie Files episode recap review from last night's episode of American Horror Story Cult. Last night's episode was called Valerie Solanas Died for Your Sins, Scumbag. So we're going to give you our thoughts, our recaps, kind of predictions. So let's sit down and talk about last night's episode. Welcome. Alright, so before we kind of get into what we liked, what we didn't like, and kind of overall thoughts, I just want to give you guys a brief synopsis or kind of recap of last night's episode before we get into the details of it. So the story opens up with Valerie and kind of showing us, takes us back to 1968. And tonight's episode kind of brought in, which American Horror Story does, they brought in true life or true story elements of the episode with obviously some elements of their own as far as writers being creative. So we see Valerie interacting with Annie Warhol, which is played by the incredible Evan Peters, and we see that
and Valerie is played by Lena Dunham.
Lena Dunham, yep. And we see that they obviously have some tension between the two. Andy mentions to Valerie that women are great, but they're not great artists. So that kind of triggers
he's
Valerie.
Taking credit for her work and things like that.
Yeah, like I said, it's based off of kind of true events. So if you guys are familiar with it, we did a lot of Googling after we saw the episode because I wasn't really too familiar with the story. So we kind of get that element there with the story. So with that comment that Andy Warhol made to Valerie, it kind of triggers her to kind of just say, you know what, men are scumbags. Men are not giving me equal rights. So it kind of takes her down this path of which the scene leads out. She shoots Andy Warhol. And then from there, we kind of open up the episode with that flashback scene. So after that, we're kind of brought back to the present day, where we see the kind of the aftermath of last week's episode of the shooting that Meadow did during Kai's rally, or kind of his speech to the people. And it's revealed that it was a camera on site, which I kind of predicted last week. That I imagine someone would have recorded it. So it was revealed with that footage that it was Meadow that did shoot Kai and do the mass shooting, and that Allie didn't do it, but she is a suspect, as they mentioned in the episode. So with that, we kind of see the aftermath of what happened, and then from there we see, after Beverly kind of reports that she's leaving her work, and she runs into a new character, BB, which is a familiar face. The actress that played BB is very familiar with American Horror Story. She's in multiple seasons, so BB tells Beverly that she knows if she's interested in knowing the truth, she should meet with her. So Beverly kind of plays her off, kind of dismisses her comments and meets with Kai, and we see at this point that Kai has a huge following, has a huge group of people now that he has minions, people that want to support his cause.
And they're all men.
Yep. And we see that Kai is meeting with Beverly, and Beverly's just talking to Kai and saying, hey, we need to go ahead and continue with our plan. And at this point, Kai's just like, you know what?
Puts her on the back burner.
Right, puts her on the back seat and tells her, you know what, I want to do what I told the people, which is create law and order, which obviously conflicts with Beverly. She wants to kind of destroy everything and rebuild and create chaos. So right then and there, you see it in that scene that they kind of have tension, and this is where you can start to see that Beverly's wheels are turning, and she's kind of like, you know what, I need to kind of do my own thing, which kind of leads us into Beverly walking into Meadow, or walking into Ivy and Winter, kind of talking about where things are.
After she's already met with this BB character.
Right.
So after her meeting with Kai, she meets with BB, and then we're setting the scene where she walks into Ivy and Allie's restaurant.
Yeah.
Ivy is with Winter, and she brings BB, and they have kind of a women's gathering.
Yeah.
And at that point, then BB, she just tells the whole story about Valerie, and her just her life, and kind of what she dealt with her. BB and Valerie were lovers, so BB really does have an insider view
point of view of
Valerie.
Life, yeah.
So after they hear that story, then
and within that story, we see a lot of different elements. American Horror Story, again, they like to take real life events or history and kind of put their own twist to it. So within that story, we find out that Valerie is her SCUM group is actually the Zodiac Killers. So she is responsible for all those killings that took place.
However, they're very upset because it's a group of women, and the Zodiac Killer was known to be a man. So a man, I believe, mimicked it, and he took credit. So obviously they're very upset about this because they are pro-women group, and they're just very upset. Of course, a man again is taking credit for what they've done.
Yeah, and then within that too, we see some pretty gruesome killings that the SCUM crew does. Once they find out who it was, actually a man who took the credit for it, and some pretty
a man within
scenes,
their group.
Yeah, within a group. So within that, we see we then are brought back to the present day where Kai is kind of doing his, I guess, weekly or daily check-in with his mom, and just he's really questioning, making sure that he's on the right path. And we see Winter come in, and they have some dialogue, and we see that Winter is brought to Winter's attention that Kai has found this memoir that Valerie has created and is famous for creating her memoirs or her monologue. And Kai approaches Winter with that, and she just says, "Oh, it's nothing." And Kai says, "Well, it's something. I really value these words that she put in there." And Kai is kind of alluding to he appreciates what she did, which kind of leads while you're watching it, you're thinking that Kai is going to call her out, but he kind of just plays it off and say, "You know what? I'm going to probably do something similar to what she's doing and kind of elevate what he's currently doing within his stance."
And in that scene, they did a really nice job. Like Winter, you felt the fear that she had. It was really good.
Yeah, so within that kind of that dialogue, Kai tells Winter that he has some ideas for maybe some taglines or
like a men's group, right. But based off SCUM.
Right, and he tells her that Harrison came up with some very demeaning terms or names for the group, and obviously that doesn't sit well with Winter. So we're kind of leaving off in the episode. We see Winter as well as all the women within Kai's group, as well as BB meeting with Harrison, kind of a secret meeting. And within that, we see Harrison's getting murdered by Ivy. And we kind of left off the episode where it's now reported that Harrison was brutally murdered, and it's suspected that it was Meadow before she killed herself. And as we're watching that, we see Kai is watching the news as well, and we're thinking that Kai, he doesn't react to it like you would think he was, like, oh man, someone's in the group is inspiring to take me down. A mold's in the group, but then the camera pans out. We see that Kai is sitting next to BB, so obviously they have an alliance. That's kind of what the episode.
And he makes a comment. He says, it's really good when they're angry. Yeah. So clearly this is all
the mastermind. Yeah. So with that being said, that was the episode. Tell me some things you liked about it.
Yeah, so I think Evan Peters is a phenomenal actor. Mm-hmm. He does such a great job just playing like a psychopath. Yeah. And his performance was really great. In this episode, he also played Andy Warhol. Mm-hmm. And he is just a man of many hats when it comes to playing these characters. So I really enjoyed his performance. Mm-hmm. And then I liked how they used the SCUM group to identify with this current group that Kai has.
The parallel story
and the followers, and it was like we have a women's group, and then we have this men's group. Mm-hmm. So I liked that as well.
Yeah, so I agree with that last point you just said there. I thought it was really interesting how they kind of tied in both storylines from what Valerie's point of view and how she wanted to get her name and her message out there, and how Kai is kind of doing that on his own with this cult. So I thought that was a really nice play. And then also to the performance, like you said, Evan Peters is doing a great job. He always knocks it out of the park. We haven't got him in a main through line in a while, so it's good to see that he has many different characters that he can play. He's kind of a chameleon at this point in his acting career.
And I think he really held this episode together too, because there weren't really any other outstanding performances for me. He made this a stronger episode because he was in it in bits and pieces, and he was Andy Warhol, and then he was himself, and he was really all throughout this episode. So
and another thing too, now I'm thinking about it, was kind of throughout the season they've kind of peppered in these current issues that we're having in America now, which is equality. I thought that they played on that with Valerie's backstory, showing that women aren't getting equal rights as men, and men take credit for what women do at times. So I thought again they did a really good job of playing to their theme, kind of playing within the storyline. So, and also too, it's kind of nice when they kind of focus on, it was a linear story, it was an isolated story. We got a background with Valerie's character,
which again they do that in every season. They always have like this episode that has something to do with the season, but it doesn't have anything to do with the particular characters right then and there.
Which kind of leads into, I guess, more into the negatives. I thought that one of the things was, I thought they could have, the way we were given the background of Valerie could have been shortened in the episode. It
was the whole episode.
Yeah, and we'll get to the performance in a little bit, but I thought that some of the performances within those flashbacks were a little comedic. I don't know if that was the tone they were going for, and we'll get into performance a little bit later, but I thought that was kind of a negative with the episode was that we got a little bit too much flashback. I would have liked to get more in the present day, and also too, Allie, Sarah Paulson, I'm a huge fan as well as Morgan. We didn't get any of her this episode, which always kind of bums me out because she's the best thing that Ryan Murphy has kind of highlighted her.
She does a good job.
Yeah, getting her name out there more. So I thought that was kind of negative how we didn't get more of Allie's story, because again, you're thinking that this is Allie's main story, but it's clearly not. It's more of Kai. Well, I guess Allie and Kai, but
she'll be in the next episode for sure. Yeah.
Which things you didn't like?
Lena Dunham, she doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, performance-wise.
As an actress, I don't think she's an actress. I think she's a writer. We watched all of Girls.
Yeah,
we
so
were fans of that.
Work,
and I think she does a good job of playing herself, because Hannah in Girls, I think that really does correlate with who Lena Dunham
Girls
is.
Was really showing her
kind of based
career.
off her, her life, kind of. But she is a writer. She's not an actress. Elliot had mentioned, he was like, I wish they would have taken Sarah Paulson's character and just like dressed her up into another person, kind of like they did Kai to Andy Warhol, because she does such a good job. But Lena Dunham, she had like this Brooklyn accent that just like went in and out, and it was terrible.
It was very distracting. It took you out of the moment.
And for American Horror Story to be where it's at, I just think that's unacceptable, to have someone playing a role and not really capturing it. So they could have just not given her an accent if she couldn't carry it through. I think so. That was a little irritating, but she just didn't do it for me. I was just like, please just get off of the camera, please.
Yeah, and that's to Morgan, what she's saying. We liked, like I said, we watched Girls, and she had, it's easy to play yourself, and obviously it was just, if you guys are familiar with Girls, it did take elements of, you can imagine what her coming up would be as far as becoming a writer, and obviously they wrote some things in for TV purposes, but I would think that this was probably her first big role that wasn't inside the Girls universe, and you can definitely tell that she was given this
too much. She was trying too hard.
I think that's the thing. Like, I think, obviously, like I said, we did a lot of Googling. Valerie Solanas has she's really well known and to the community as being one of the most influential feminists and having her own message out there and really kind of shaking the world.
And I just think they could have picked a better person to display, pay homage to who Valerie was, and it didn't do it for me. And sometimes it just baffles me that it gets past so many people, and it's like, people that are a part of the show are watching what we're seeing, and they're still like, let's go ahead and put this on national TV.
Yeah, and I think too,
I didn't like it.
Yeah, I think you can tell that Lena Dunham, she was trying to have fun with the character, and I think she tried to wrap herself into the character and try to get in her mind. But again, I think it was just a little.
She was trying too hard.
It was very. It was some dialogue. It was a little.
And again, it was like comical. That accent going in and out. Yeah. It just really just fucked it up.
Yeah, it kind of took us out of those. And again, I think those could have been really pivotal moments for the episode and the season. But I think that she kind of didn't do a great performance. So, that was probably one of my biggest things. And also, from another character that I thought is at this point in the season is kind of pointless is Ivy. She's so wishy-washy. Like the first, 6 episodes. She was so adamant about not killing her wife.
And then what she does to Harrison is gruesome.
Yeah, it's just like, it was just, she was very kind of back and forth with joining Kai. But then, and just within this episode, we see her meet BB. She gives her the story, which obviously BB, we'll see, our predictions with where we see BB going, but she meets her for the first time and she's just automatically down for the cause.
Now that you say that, okay, so that's another thing that I really like. So what I originally thought in this episode when they introduced the SCUM group, I was thinking, okay, this is in correlation, like Valerie represents Kai and we're going to see his demise, because Valerie she kind of becomes psychotic.
Yeah, she became very obsessed with taking over and getting her message out there.
So I'm thinking, okay, that's going to be a representation of his downfall, right? And then I was totally caught off guard. It was very left field to see BB, the twist was good. So I know we're talking about what we didn't like, but as soon as you said BB, that was really good.
Yeah, we did not see that
for me, I wonder if any of you kind of called it at all. And I'm also wondering, because when Winter meets with BB, she starts telling her story, and she's like, oh, I learned all about that in college. Valerie Solanas, I know her, and she knew a lot about what she was talking about. So I almost wonder, like, at some point when she was in college, did she bring this up to Kai, and maybe he overheard it, and that's what kind of grabbed his attention and went from there. But yeah, the twist was really good.
Really good twist. And I guess now we can get into wrapping up the video here. But things we're predicting for the rest of the season, because we do have, I think, 4 more episodes left. I would like to see, is BB down for the Scum? Is she just infiltrating Kai's group and really is
because Kai does not have loyalty to anyone.
Yeah, it's very
he allowed he makes people very vulnerable, and then he just offs them. I mean, Meadow, she was in love with him, killed herself for him. Harrison, he knew that he was going to die. We didn't know that.
I can't think of the one character's name when they put the nails to his head.
I mean, he has no loyalty. So for us to see BB, it's like, okay, is she playing him or is he playing her? I don't know. Or are they maybe? Do they have a deeper connection than what we know about? I don't know. Right. Maybe they have this previous relationship of. I don't know, maybe she's a mother figure after his mother passed. I'm not really sure. But I think that they're going to finish it off. I think we're going to continue to get surprises
and I think
throughout the rest of the season.
Because we were, the season, I'll be honest, for me, has been kind of up and down. But I think this was a pretty strong episode. At first, minus the performance of Lena Dunham and all that. But I thought it was a pretty solid episode. I would say this is probably one of my favorites so far in the season. And I'm looking forward to what's to come. So.
I'm really interested too to see Kai's brother. Is he going to have any more? I mean, is he a mastermind in this or what? But Kai, I mean, these women, they got to be smarter. This guy is.
He's 5 steps ahead of them every time. Yeah.
And I think also that this show is it's a good representation of what's going on right now with Donald Trump.
And these themes that they've been playing,
it's frustrating to watch it. But when we were watching the episode and. I was getting frustrated when Beverly went to go visit Kai in the house, and these men are just being so rude to her. And I was like, wait, like this is real. Like this is a show, but this is actually happening in real life, and that's kind of sad. It's like, what can we do as a people to work together? So I'm interested to see how the rest of the season plays out for sure, because they are really doing a good job at pulling at your strings, especially if you're not a Donald Trump fan. I mean, if you are, you probably have a different outlook, but if you're not, they do a good job at making you really upset, but Kai, Evan Peters, he does a phenomenal job. He's very, very good.
Yeah, I think he's the MVP so far. And then we love Sarah Palin's character, but Sarah Paulson. Sorry, Sarah Palin. We talking politics, Sarah Paulson. We love her, but I think that Kai's been the MVP so far for the season. So,
which I'm glad, because I think like in the first season of American Horror Story, in the second season, he was.
Really
the star of the show, and then there were a few other seasons where he was kind of thrown in.
Well, you had Jessica Lange and you had Sarah Paulson and Evan Peters. Those are the 3 big heavy hitters.
But there's been some seasons where he hasn't, I guess, been strong throughout the whole deal. And I know he's had other jobs too, but. It's just nice to see him back in the last season. Him and Sarah Paulson were a couple. So I don't know. Yeah, they're a dynamic duo for sure.
Yeah. So I think overall we like this episode. We're happy with it. We're excited to see what's to come. So that being said, we want to know what you guys think. How did you like last night's episode? What were your thoughts on the performances, the good and the bad, as well as what you think is going to happen for the rest of the season. So thanks for tuning in for another episode of our review for American Horror Story Cult. We look forward to seeing you guys next week. And as usual, subscribe to our channel, like this video, share this video, and also follow us on Movie Files on Instagram. So we're at Movie Files on Instagram. Again, guys, thanks for tuning in, and take care.